We're back with David Redman, retired Canadian Army Lieutenant Colonel, 27-year veteran, posted 19 times to operations in Germany, Egypt, the former Yugoslavia, the USA, and across Canada. David, let's pick up on that thought just before the break, the political will. Tell me more about why we don't have a political will.
I think in the last 9 years, we've seen the erosion of the belief in Canada as a country. It started with the whole discussion way back in 2015 with the Prime Minister calling us a post-national state. So let me shift off that for just a second and talk about what makes a country. I believe a country is defined by 6 national interests. The first is a common culture, a common unity around that culture. Then national security. Then good governance, a good, strong democratic system that's defended, and then rights and freedoms in a democracy. The fifth being economic prosperity and growth, and the final one being personal well-being and societal well-being. And those 6 national interests are the very cornerstone. But without the first 2, unity and national security, the other 4 can't exist. And so I believe the political will may be shortcoming in the short term, but that Canadians understand that all 6 make a country, and they have always invested in their national security and the Canadian Armed Forces with strong support and a strong belief in the need of a Canadian Armed Forces when they are helped to understand the linkage between national security and all 6 of the national interests that define our great democracy. I think the best example of that was the Highway of Heroes during Afghanistan, when the Canadian public poured out their support for every soldier, sailor, airman, and woman that was involved in our armed forces, not just in Afghanistan, but serving our country, across our country, and in all our deployments worldwide. So I believe the political will can be redefined and is easily redefined by simply telling Canadians once again how national security links to all of our national interests.
So true. And I think President Trump is helping in that regard as well. He's been very vocal recently about Canada's lack of investment in its national security and has linked it directly to trade. And that, in my memory, is the first time that that has happened. This is a challenge for our political people, but I think in the end, it should make us stronger, should it not?
It definitely should. And maybe I can harken back. Our country was first formed in 1867 with a direct threat of manifest destiny coming from the south of us. The United States had just finished their Civil War and was sitting with a huge army, and manifest destiny was their inherent belief that all of North America belonged to Americans. So this isn't the first time. And if I can take you back just a couple of other examples, Pierre Trudeau, Justin Trudeau's father, tried to remove Canada from NATO in the early 1970s.
I did not know
And NATO
that.
made it very clear. If you don't keep tanks, planes in Europe, if you don't commit a standing force in the defense of Europe, there will be no trade with Europe. And so he reversed his policy of trying to get out of NATO, and we stayed in NATO. Most recently, September 11th, I personally briefed the American ambassador to Canada, Paul Cellucci, and his line at the time sounds very familiar. Security trumps trade. He said it over and over and over again in the Canadian press. And Canada then realized it had to once again step back from trying to eliminate its armed forces and national security and reinvest. So I believe this isn't the first time. It's another wake-up call, and I think President Trump has correctly assessed his own national security concerns, but if he's forced to, he would rather do it with a strong partnership with Canada, but if forced to, he'll do it himself.
And it seems to me that the focus now isn't so much NATO, but it's the Arctic Circle, is it not? And that's really what the Americans are interested in.
So I think we need to focus on the fullness of sovereignty. Canada has 3 oceans and a huge geographic landmass. And I think it's time that we recognize the fact that we need to take every one of them seriously. The Arctic definitely is one of our spheres and one of our areas, but I think it's time that we reorient a major portion of our force to look towards the Pacific, where the major threat is coming from, while keeping an eye on our Atlantic flank and taking seriously our north and a presence and defense of our north. So I
Hold
think
that
it's
thought.
time that we reassessed it all.
Hold that thought. Thank you.